Welcome to a new video, and my name is Courage, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to easily remove sweat from clothes, from outfits. So you take a picture, and those outfits are the outfit that when they have liquid, their color tends to change. So I have different problems here that we're going to fix very easily. All right, so I just got these images from from Google, so we're going to use that. So let's get in. So I'll first of all let you know that you can easily see the areas where there's sweat. You can see that those areas they seem to have a slightly darker shade compared to the other area. You can see that. So what we are going to do is to try to brighten this to look like the surrounding and tone the color to look like the surrounding. So that's how it is. So you can decide to use curves, decide to use brightness and contrast, whatever method works for you. All right, so but there are two things you can either do. One, you can manually brush into these areas, or you can look for a way to make a selection and then refine it. So however, manually brushing, you have more control than making selection. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to manually brush. So one thing I'll just do is just to come to curves, and I will just change the curves to screen. Once I change it to screen, I'll press Ctrl I, then I'll take my brush. I can reduce my flow to like 10% flow. Then I'm just going to brush on the areas that have the challenge until the brightness level looks like the surrounding. And of course, right now the brightness level looks close to it. I can just reduce the opacity a bit. Let me see, something like this. But now the color is off, so I can create a new hue and saturation, then use the clippy mask, and then I'll desaturate it until it looks like. So now after desaturating it by almost 50%, look at it. This is before and this is after. You can see how it blends into it. You will not be able to tell that there was liquid sweat there. All right, so let me show you what I just did again in another area. This is one of the best way I do it, although there are slightly different variations on how to get that done. Right, you can also try out that method. So I just come to curves and screen, invert. So if you feel the 10% flow is too high for you, you can drop it down to 5% flow. All right, so it's just for you to brush over it as much as possible until it begins to look like the environment. So you might want to reduce the brush size for areas that are small, all right, and increase the brush size for areas that are big. So if you know how to do this, in fact, it will make it easier for you to learn how to retouch skin using the dodging and burning technique. All right, so this is how the dodging and burning technique works. You are just correcting areas that are too dark by brightening them, to look like their environment, and then the areas that are too bright by darkening them so that they can match with other areas around them. So that's how to get it done. So but once you brush like this, you feel your brush strokes are not very good, you can double click on the layer mask and just feather it a bit to soften your brushes. So I can see that the colors are a bit off, so I'm going to create a hue and saturation, clip it, and then desaturate it so it matches. All right, so for this now, I notice that there are some areas that are too bright, that are not dark. So I can come to curves and change it to multiply and press Ctrl I. So I can now focus on those areas to darken them. So this method I just showed you now is also the way you can actually remove foldings from your outfits. I'll come to the brighten and brighten this area. You can also remove folding. So now let's take an example. Let's take this area. If I want to remove this folding, I'll just come and brighten this shadow I am seeing under this place. The more I brighten the shadow, it will remove that folding that is there. So once I brighten like that, I don't brighten to the highest. I brighten, then I come to the bone, which is to darken, and then I darken the areas that are bright so that it will match with the environment. So that it will match with the environment. So I want to brighten here. Okay, so now let's group this together and see. Look at before and look at after. You can see how that folding has almost disappeared using this technique. All right, so just as a tip, just to add an extra bonus, you can also use frequency separation to even out some of these areas. What do? You click on via Gaussian blur if you have the retouching academy panel, and then use a number that is very low. So I'm going to use like 1. So now this Gaussian blur method using frequency separation only works for fabrics that has plain texture and single color. So you can't use it for multi-pattern, multi-color outfit. No, you can't. So I will turn off my high texture layer with my big mixer brush. Make sure this first one is not tick, this one is tick 30 30 20 20 10. Sample all layers. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to brush and even out. So when I'm trying to brush and even it out, I'll make sure that I don't ruin the way the pattern is. So that's why I'm trying to brush in this direction to maintain how the stomach looks. So if I turn on this now, you can see before and after. So what I'll just do next is to reduce the opacity. So you can reduce the opacity a bit, all right, or if you don't want to reduce the opacity, if you like it like this, you can come to the high texture layer. You can use the clone stamp tool or the patch tool to remove unwanted texture. So I can easily use my patch tool to remove this area, and you realize that the picture will look better. All right, so now let's look at it. So look at the before and look at the after. So now the only thing I notice is that the color is a bit off. So one way I can do that is just to create a new layer, change it to color, take eyedropper, sample one of the colors, then take my normal brush, and then I will just brush that color into, make sure it is 100% flow and opacity. I'll just brush that color into the outfit. Once I do that, I can reduce the opacity if I want, but that's how I match the color if I'm having a single color outfit. So let's see another example. This example, just like what I did just now, curves, change it to what? To screen, press Ctrl I, reduce your flow to 5%, zoom in, and make sure you're using a soft brush. All right, then you're going to begin to brush until it matches with the environment. So now with the brushing I'm doing, I can see that the color is different. All right, so how do we fix that? Just like we did, come to select the color, clip it, and then desaturate it. So I feel it's not too light. I may press X to use a black brush to recover some part of it. So if I want to be more detailed, I can zoom in with a white brush. I can take out the edges. So for a plain outfit like this, I may not go into all these kind of details. Most times after brightening it a bit, what I just do, I just create a new layer on top. When I create a new layer, I'll take my patch tool and I'll just come and blend the edges. That's what I do. So that's how to fix. Then the third one, which has texture, so the same thing, change it to screen, invert it with 5% flow, use my white brush, and I'm going to use the brush to paint until the color, the exposure value is similar to the environment. So of course the color is not matching. So how do you match the color? Because this one is texture, you don't want to sample and be brushing everywhere. So I'll just come to selective color like I did, clip the mask and reduce the opacity. So if I reduce opacity is not still enough, I can move the hue around until I find the sweet spot that looks good for my image. So for this, it will still require a bit more work of trying to blend the edges. So if I get it to a point, I can create a new layer, then I can just take the patch tool or any tool, select the edge and just drop it. Or I think that one is not even giving me a very decent work. Or I can just use the spot healing brush, and I'll just use spot healing brush to touch the edges so that it can blend it for me. So that's another way to get it done. I don't know if this video was insightful, if you learned anything new. If you did, please drop a comment and suggest any video you'd like me to do in the future. Please subscribe, share this video with others, please like, and thank you so much for being part of this.